All right, Steve, go ahead.
Brandon Girtz, this is Steve Juon from MMA Mania. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, what's going on, Steve? I'm doing good, my brother. How are you?
I'm excellent, and I'm really excited about this fight you've got coming up with Jon Tuck, but it's not your original opponent. You were supposed to be facing Paul Redmond, so tell me how that came about and how you feel about the switch.
I was excited about Paul Redmond. Given, he's from Ireland, I was actually really looking forward to stepping in enemy territory and taking on somebody that's really well respected there, So I was definitely disappointed, but injuries happen, and I got another good opponent in Jon Tuck. So, I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to get, as a quality opponent, but I think they definitely went out there and got me another tough guy that definitely likes to fight, definitely somebody that's never been finished, and that's a big challenge I'm taking on this one.
It is indeed, and he's also coming in with something to prove because I think he feels like he got a little overlooked in UFC and they let him go off a great fight with Drew Dober, so he's coming in really amped up.
And I love it. I love people that want to come and fight, and I think Tuck is definitely that guy. He's gonna, like you said, feels like he has something to prove. First fight in Bellator, and I think he's gonna come out guns blazing, and that's exactly the type of fight I like to be in.
You said you were looking forward to fighting somebody on his home turf, and that may not be the case here, but fighting overseas has been good to you. You won your last fight overseas with Luka Jelcic, so that's got to make you feel good knowing that you've already got that time difference down.
Yeah, and it's the thing about traveling and fighting, that was my first one, but with it, it's an adventure. Really, it's not the same thing. It doesn't even feel close to a normal fight to me. I look at it, like I said, as an adventure, going across the world to fight somebody. And when you really sit down and think about it like that, it's actually pretty cool, and that's how I approached it, and I had fun with it, and it's going to be no different here.
Jon Tuck is a very hard guy to put away. He likes to go to the decision. He likes to take people to split decisions. So are you expecting that kind of fight that goes the full distance, or do you think you'll knock him out or get him out of there?
I'm not expecting it. I'm preparing for it, yes. I'm preparing for 3 rounds all the time. But am I expecting to knock him out in the first round? Absolutely. That's kind of what I expect every time I step out there. I feel like once my hands touch, I'm putting somebody asleep. So that's what I expect. Am I prepared for him not to die? Just like a wad? Absolutely, man. These guys are here for a reason. They're warriors too. So I'm ready for wherever it goes.
Well, speaking of that fight with Awad, it's been more than a few months now since that took place. Did you have any lingering injuries coming out of that fight?
Absolutely not, man. This wasn't ideal. 6 months was not what I wanted to do here. I definitely wanted to get in there after being injured, but prior to that fight, I was off for a year. The plan was to get in as soon as possible. It just didn't work out. The opponents, things dropped through, things like that. So it just never materialized. But, after I go out there and after I get this victory and get my hand raised, I'm going to be, asking to get in there as soon as possible. And hopefully this time that actually happens.
How would you like to stay more active then? Would it just be random one-off fights, or would you like something like a lightweight tournament like they're doing for the featherweights?
You nailed it right there, man. If you can get me in that lightweight tournament, I mean, when they have a lightweight tournament, which you should think should be soon, they haven't told me nothing. They haven't given me any indication. It just says it's going to be there. I better be in that. I've been with Bellator, for how many years? I'm going on like, gosh, I don't even know, 7, 8 years I've been with this organization. If there's a tournament to be had, I better be in it, and I don't think that's a question. I think when it gets done, when it gets put together, I'm going to be in that tournament, and I'm looking very forward to that.
Yeah, you're right about your long tenure in Bellator. You go all the way back to the early 2010s. So how does it feel to be the veteran on the roster when there's so many new guys coming in lately?
I like it because they treat me well, and it's kind of become a home in a way. When I show up to the fights, I know pretty much every single person, and when I see somebody, it's kind of a weird thing if I don't know them. That's how long I've been there. I got a good relationship with everybody. It's kind of, I don't want to call it routine, but I've been around Bellator for so long that I pretty much know everybody there. It's a little bit of a family, you know. So I love it. Bellator is, you know, where I wanna be, where I wanna end my career.
Hopefully that's not anytime soon, but I do always like to know when people say things like that, how many more years they think they have in them in fighting.
You know, I'm someone that has no idea how long my journey goes or what's next. You know, I'll know when it's done, when I'm not feeling like I'm getting better. Right now, I feel like every time I step in there, I'm getting a little better, and I'm right up there with the top competition. When that starts to give away, you'll never see me go out there and be less of a fighter than I am now. That will never be me. There's a lot of things in this world and life that I can do with myself, and if my skills, if my explosiveness is just, if my chin is going away, you better believe I'm going to be done. Now, do I know when that's going to be right now? No, because I don't see that end of the tunnel right now. You know, I could have 3, 4, 5, 6. Who knows? You know, it all depends on how I feel. And right now, I feel good, and fighting is the only thing I can see myself doing right now.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about your chin going just yet, because with Sadawad, you were in there with one of the hardest hitters in the lightweight division, and you got the W, so that proves your chin's holding up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm not. I've never felt like I've been one to get hit a shit ton where I don't get knocked out in practice. I have only been, you know, I've been caught once in a fight, and that's the only time that you've seen my lights go out. So I don't think my chin's diminishing right now at all. So, like I said, I feel good about it.
Yeah, I mean, even with that last fight with Derek Campos, you didn't get knocked out. The doctor stopped it, so you would have kept right on fighting.
You better believe it, man. Like you said, you got to put me to sleep. You got to stop me in that way. Otherwise, I'm gonna be fighting to the end.
Who's a dream opponent for you after Jon Tuck? Is there any particular person you want to face next?
You know, anybody in the top, but I've really got my sights set on Michael Chandler again. You know, that's a very disappointing fight for me. Chandler's always been somebody since I joined. I remember when I joined, you know, whenever that was, 2010, and my first photo shoot at Orlando, you know, I seen him, and at that time he was already established, and that was the person I looked at that I was coming for, you know, and a year, 2 years ago, I finally got to face him after all the years, and my shoulder went out, you know. So that one really irks me more than any fight I've ever had. Like I said, that's somebody that I've wanted to step in there with. So that's who I'm aiming with. I respect that man. I have nothing against him, but I feel like he's still the top of my division, and that's where I'm aiming. And you know, if it's the next fight or the next, that's the guy I want to fight. You know, and I think on this card we got 2 great fighters in Myles Jury and Henderson. Either one of those would be great names for me too.
Absolutely. There's so many possibilities right now that you can match up with just about anybody, but I do like the idea of the Chandler rematch, because it seems like he would need to put together a few wins to get a rematch with Pitbull, and if you win that rematch with him, that puts you in the exact same position as well.
Exactly. He's not, you know, his goal is getting back for that championship too, and that's not happening without a few wins. So, I think it makes sense, like you said, and me too. After I put Jon Tuck out, I'm gonna be right up there. I feel like with the division and looking to, you know, go for that belt, or, you know, like you said with that tournament, we don't know who, you know, how it's gonna work out for the next shot at the belt. But right now we got someone in Pitbull holding it while he's in another tournament, you know. So we got to clear some things while he's tied up.
Does that bother you that Bellator does the champ thing and puts divisions on hold while people are doing other things?
You know, I wouldn't say it completely bothers me, because Pitbull's been a champ for a while, and you gave him that grudge match against Chandler, and I kind of seen that as being warranted, you know. So it doesn't completely bother me. If it was another scenario with some, you know, people, then yeah, I do. Like there's times you shouldn't just give that chance for someone to win another belt and now it's held up. You know, maybe it should be if you want to go get another belt, you got to relinquish the other one. You know, something like that, because otherwise, like you said, it holds up the division, and now, you know, we're sitting here left like, who's fighting for a belt, you know, and that's not going to be over a year until you see another fight for the 155-pound belt right now.
And that's what the fans want too. I mean, it's not just about the fighters. We also want to see people fighting for those titles and defending those titles. So everybody needs something out of it.
Exactly. You know what I would, honestly, what I would like to see right now is Bellator put on that 55-pound tournament without Pitbull in it, because how is Pitbull supposed to do another freaking tournament back to back? So I would love them to put on another 55-pound tournament, put all the best 55ers in it, and then the winner of the tournament fights Pitbull. That's kind of where I feel like is the only way, because otherwise you ain't going to see anybody fighting for the title for another 2 damn years or so. So I think I kind of feel like that's, how they need to play this out. I don't think he needs to get thrown into another tournament. I think you need to have a 55-pound tournament to decide who fights him next.
That sounds perfect to me. Go ahead.
And it's not like every tournament they put on is the exact same style or format. So I don't see that as being any issue, I kind of feel like that's the old school way they did it. The tournament, you fought in it, and then you got to fight for the title, and I wouldn't mind them putting that on again.
It kind of brings things back full circle, and you know this because of your long tenure, because that was the way Bjorn Rebney used to do things, was every season there was a tournament. So it's like Scott Coker is bringing that back all over again.
He is. He absolutely is, and I think people loved it, and I think he's putting a little twist in. He's putting little twists in there himself, and I love how they're doing the, Pride style, that we'll see after, in 2 weeks, of how you get to pick your next opponent. I think that's a cool little thing they added to it, and like I said, he's adding little twists in there, so. Every tournament doesn't have to be the exact same style, and I like how he's doing that. So, like I said, it makes sense to me for them to put a 55-pound tournament to see who fights Pitbull next, unless you want to take that belt away from him. One or the other, 55 is one of the deepest divisions. You can't just sit there and hold it up,
You're very right about that. And since you mentioned this being a deep division, and you also mentioned the Henderson Jury fight being on this same card as your fight with Jon Tuck, do you have any predictions for that fight?
I see them kind of, their styles are the same. Neither one of them really are people that put their opponents away. Neither one really, I feel like, possesses that power. But they're both grinders, and they're nonstop. They're nonstop fighters. They keep coming, they keep going. Both of them aren't easy to put away. Especially Henderson. So I see it being the decision, and I see Henderson winning the decision.
I'm kind of leaning that way myself, because Henderson's one of those crafty guys who always just seems to do enough to get the points on the scorecard.
Absolutely. I've always looked up to Henderson too. That guy's been around for 2 decades, and not just around at the top of his game. I think we lost a little bit, of what we remember of Henderson when we seen him go up to 170 and fight that monster, and then to fight Chandler, and that was a great fight against Chandler. Mm-hmm. So I think we've kind of lost sight a little bit of what Henderson is. He's somebody that goes out there and, like you said, finds the win somehow all the time. And I look at a fight between me and him would be, I'm not even going to joke. I think it might even be a tougher fight for me than Chandler, just given the guy does not die, and that's what I look. I mean, when I watched him against, I don't want to mess his name up, but when he went up to 170 to fight for that belt, that guy was straight murdering him, and he just kept going. I've called him the rubber man before. He can just take anything, So that's how I see Henderson. That guy just can't be put away, So anytime you fight that guy, you got to expect for him to take damage and keep coming at you,
Yeah, and that fight with Andrei Korshkov was a great battle. So that proved that even in a loss, Benson Henderson is always going to put on a performance. But that's exactly what I expect in this fight with Jon Tuck, is you're going to go out there and put on a great performance and hopefully take home the W.
Absolutely.
All right, Brandon, anybody that you want to thank, any sponsors, anybody you need to shout out before I let you go?
I want to just thank my team at Genesis and all my, training partners, and then CB Dermaceuticals, CBD, everybody knows about that, especially especially in our sport. You know, I definitely like to throw awareness out for that. It's just a thing that's came into the world that's amazing for everybody. And then, you know, my sponsor, Leo Rivera, thought was keeping me looking good.
All right. Well, look good in this fight with Jon Tuck, and we'll look forward to watching it coming up here at Bellator 227 / Bellator Dublin at the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland. Brandon, thank you for the time today.
All right, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you.
No problem. And thank you, Dan, as well.